You were one of the early members of Congress to call for diplomacy inside Ukraine, well, even before the Congressional Progressive Caucus came out in support of diplomacy. We had that controversy where 24 hours after that letter came out from the Progressive Caucus, which you signed, urging the Biden administration to engage in diplomacy, the letter was withdrawn. You were one of the few to actually stand by the letter. But now we're several months later, and there's still no movement, at least that we can see publicly, on ending this war in Ukraine. Where do you stand on this now? Do you think the Biden administration should be using its considerable leverage in this horrible war to try to end it?
I'll play the answer in 1 second, but Aaron's mentioning that Ro Khanna was one of the few, and this is what I mean. He's one of the most progressive members of Congress, so-called progressive, in the U.S. version of progressive, which is not progressive at all. And he actually was calling for diplomacy in Ukraine pretty much since the beginning. But that's what makes his upcoming answer and ignorance so breathtaking. This is one of the most progressive congresspeople who supports diplomacy.
I believe that Secretary Blinken is having lines of communication open with.
Let me shrink his answer. The U.S. He just said is. He means is having diplomacy. His answer is the U.S. right now is looking for a diplomatic end to the war in Ukraine. Does anybody, again, I want to hear your comments. I want to see your comments in the comment section. Does anybody here believe the U.S. right now is looking for a diplomatic solution in Ukraine and has been for months and months and months? Like, it's so breathtakingly either ignorant or just bullshit. Blinken right now is working, with Russia to end the war in Ukraine, the proxy war that we did everything to try and create. Yeah? Is that true? And here's the thing, there actually, and I've done some coverage of it, there actually are some signs that the U.S. is ready to wind down the war in Ukraine. But that's different than what he's talking about. He's saying the U.S. has been working for months to try and create a diplomatic and peaceful end to the war in Ukraine. I mean, it's just unbelievable.
With Lazaroff, I mean, both they met in India briefly. They've communicated recently over the Wall Street Journal prisoner and calling for his release. I don't think China has the moral credibility to be the peacemaker here, given.
Now that's another shift. That's a full-on dodge. Let's move over and insult China a little, because that'll take the heat off me.
That they're still unwilling to condemn Putin's invasion of Ukraine, given that Xi Jinping has described Putin as his closest friend and closest ally.
So he's decided to shift to China, and his main criticism of China seems to be that President Xi called Putin a friend. That's the best he's got.
So, it's going to take some neutral parties to...
Oh, neutral parties. The U.S.? Yeah, are we the neutral party that's going to bring about this diplomatic end? The people that funded it, armed it, created it, pushed up on Russia's borders with NATO for years and years, helped create the 2014 coup by funding and arming Nazis. Are we the neutral arbiters of this?
To actually help bring about a just peace that recognizes Ukrainian sovereignty. But I give the president and Secretary Blinken credit in that they have not wanted to escalate the war. They have tried to deconflict it. They have resisted calls to...
Did you catch that? They have not wanted, the U.S. empire, Blinken, Biden, etc., have not wanted to escalate the war, have not tried to, they've tried to deconflict it. Is that the word he uses? Could you imagine, so there's two possibilities here. Either he believes the shit he's saying right now, or he doesn't, and he's just flat out lying to you. If he's flat out lying to you, okay, then he's the same as Biden and Blinken and Trump and Trump's advisors and anyone else who lied to you in the top echelons of this government. Or he is so breathtakingly ignorant on this topic that he thinks Blinken and Biden and the Biden administration have not tried to escalate this since the beginning and have tried to deconflict it or something. What? I mean, if he believes that is a level of ignorance that is just, wow. That is a level of ignorance that you could just walk straight into and never get out.
That have any kind of aggression into Russia. And what they want is a just peace, which is that
they've never wanted to have any kind of aggression into Russia. They blew up the Nord Stream pipeline. Is that not aggressive enough for you?
Ukraine's sovereignty is protected, and Russia recognizes that.
Have you seen the reports? They're sourced to Naftali Bennett, the former prime minister, a Turkish foreign minister, and also sources close to Zelensky in the Ukrainian media, that the U.S. and the U.K. basically told Zelensky early on in the war, after he reached a tentative agreement with Russia, that sorry, if you make an agreement, we're not going to back you up with security guarantees, meaning that the U.S. and UK blocked peace and prolonged the war. Have you seen these reports? Do they concern?
And you guys, if you watch my live stream regularly, I've talked about that since it first came out, that there was a peace deal that was very close to being signed between Russia and Zelensky, and the U.S. via Boris Johnson went running to Ukraine. Boris Johnson literally, in his final days as prime minister, sprinting to Ukraine to tell Zelensky that he cannot sign a peace deal. And in fact, after that moment, Zelensky and the Ukraine government have never sat down to even discuss. Since then, I still don't think there's been any discussion. So the U.S. made sure all peace possibilities were over.
You at all? Has there been any effort in Congress to find out what happened there?
I would find those very hard to believe.
Just stop and think about that response for a moment. I would find it hard to believe the U.S. wanted the proxy war we created. I would find that would blow my rubber underpants right off. Oh, my goodness. Hold on. You're saying the U.S. wanted the conflict in Ukraine that we've been salivating at for years, since before 2014?